Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories this hour. President Tinubu swears in sole administrator of Rivers State Vice Admiral Iboete Ibas, retired, into office a day after declaration of a state of emergency. And federal government set to release Rivers State allocation to new administrator Iboete Ibas amid declaration of state of emergency. RSF clashes with army in Sudan leaves 50 dead within 1 week in Khartoum. Now details coming shortly. Now let's begin with an update on the emergency rule in Rivers State. President Bola Tinubu has sworn in the sole administrator of Rivers State, Vice Admiral Iboete Ibas, into office. Now, Tinubu swore Ibas into office at about 3 p.m. at the State House, Abuja. The brief ceremony was witnessed by the President's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, the Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, and the Principal Secretary to the President, Mr. Hakeem Muri-Okunola. On Tuesday evening, Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, suspending Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the Rivers State House of Assembly for an initial period of 6 months.
First of all, I think we know the circumstances that led to where we are here, and Mr. President made it very clear in his broadcast. And if the main issue is that of maintaining law and order in the state, I think for any meaningful activities to take place in Rivers State, that is the utmost task that I have, to work together with all other stakeholders to ensure that we bring peace, order, and security and stability to the people and government of Rivers State and Nigeria at large.
General, or rather federal government, says Rivers State allocation will be released in the to the new administrator, Iboete Ibas. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, announced this while briefing State House correspondents at Presidential Villa in Abuja. The development comes after President Bola Tinubu imposed emergency rule in Rivers State on Tuesday. The Supreme Court had on February 28th upheld a federal high court ruling that prohibited the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Accountant General of the Federation from disbursing statutory monthly allocations to Rivers State. The Supreme Court also directed the Martin Amele-led faction of Rivers State House of Assembly, which is aligned with FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, to resume legislative seatings.
The President came out boldly yesterday to say the situation cannot be allowed to continue, a situation in which the critical economic life of the nation, what is giving lifeline to the nation, to be, criminally touched without any response from those who would ordinarily be expected to do so. There were what I would call telegraphing of the militants, I would say by the governor, and the reason I said so was when he beckoned to them that, he would let them know when it was time to act, to the militants. Let us say it was wrong. Did he come out to disown them? The answer is no. And a week after they swung into action, you see or witness vandalization of oil pipelines.
Also, let's tell you that more reactions have continued to trail the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State by President Tinubu following the protracted political crisis in the state. Speaking with News Central TV, President of the Islamic Sisters Association, an affiliate body of Rivers Women's Unite for SIM, implored the president to reverse the decision. Nollywood actor Ibinabo Ferebisima also lent her voice to the development.
Our women are not happy. Women are not happy. Whatever it is, we know that when things became tougher, God will intervene. we know that God will intervene. God will make peace in the state, and God will bring back our governor to us by the grace of God, because he knows what is hidden, he knows what is exposed. We have no weapon, cannot fight, but God can fight his battle. This is battle, we leave it for him. That is why we are here to join our sisters.
We found peace finally. And then today you come out and you see army people driving around like there's something going on that is wrong. This is not right. This is not right. We are at peace. Let our children, let our families be at peace. Let people go to work at peace. All these army people driving about, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. Our governor is peaceful. We love him. Leave us in peace. What is all this? Emotion is not in politics, we agree, but we want peace. We want peace. This is too much to us. This is not right. This is not right.
Your name now?
I moved back to this state. I ran away before.
What's happening? I don't know the man from Adam, the governor. Understand? What's happening? I wish I'm a governor. I wouldn't even tolerate it.
What would you have done if you are a governor?
Me? I would even use all my veto power, because the thing is paying me now to look down on the governor like that. Me to destabilize him plan like that, a young man like that. A veteran man for him is ready to work. That they don't allow him to work. What's happening? I don't know him. I never know his phone number. I never even know him from Adam. But me, the thing is pain. It's a painful something.
Now let us also tell you that the River State government has expressed surprise at the state of emergency declared by President Bola Tinubu, emphasizing that the state was being properly governed under Governor Siminalayi Fubara's leadership. Warisinibo Johnson, the state's commissioner for information, stated that despite political disagreements, the state continued to thrive with good governance, timely payments of salaries, and ongoing development projects. He stressed that Rivers State remained safe, secure, and peaceful. Johnson also questioned why Tinubu suspended Fubara, but not former Governor Nyesom Wike, who is now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. The commissioner suggested that the political crises were largely exacerbated by the actions of the House of Assembly, led by Wike, undermining efforts for peace and progress. The New Nigeria People's Party condemned the state of emergency declared on Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu, calling it an absurd political decision that sets a dangerous precedent and is unconstitutional. In a statement issued in Abuja by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Ladipo Johnson, on Wednesday, the NNPP assessed the political situation in Rivers State and concluded that it had not deteriorated to the point that a state of emergency was warranted. The party argued that aside from the political interests at play in the state, a more reasonable solution could have been applied instead of resorting to emergency rule. And still, on River State, the Trans-Niger pipeline in Ogoniland, River State, was hit by an explosion just 2 weeks after some groups threatened to blow up oil pipelines if there were any impeachment attempts on the governor of River State. Locals claim the blast was an act of sabotage, fueling speculation that the earlier threat has been carried out. News Central's correspondent Biola Festus visited the scene of the explosion and brings this report.
Explosion occurred in the dead of the night at a section of the Trans-Niger pipeline at the boundary between Bodo and Mogo communities in River State. The Trans-Niger pipeline, which traverses states in the Niger Delta region, is one of Nigeria's biggest channels, conveying crude oil to the Bonny terminal for onward exportation. Locals and surveillance personnel in charge of the pipeline narrate what they know about the explosion.
When I came here, it was fire. You cannot access this place. When I saw the fire, the flames from my own point of residence, I had to run down here. I heard and saw around here was chattering noise of birds, as well as movements of several human beings in vehicles heading to Port Harcourt.
Personnel of Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, the surveillance agency responsible for managing and maintaining Nigeria's pipeline infrastructure, arrived for an on-the-spot assessment. but their presence gets locals agitated. They are insisting that no external bodies should be allowed to change the narrative about the actual cause of the explosion. They appear convinced that the crude oil pipeline had been sabotaged.
We will not allow anybody outside Bukana or anybody that does not have an understanding about this. I have not been working with Bukana people, you understand, to come and say nonsense here. Bukana youth are already on ground. We cannot say for a fact that it is equipment failure or sabotage, but there are certain facts that are almost evident. But the conclusion of the investigation will justify any of the narrative that seems to be true. When I came in, I saw the fire, and the fire I immediately was able to know it came as a result of sabotage. If you look at this place, there was pressure on the pipe. Upon cutting the pipe and getting to the product, it spilled. This spillage rounded all this place you see up to that point where you see a darkening of the green life.
The area of explosion is situated in a farmland, a few meters away from a densely populated community, making the need for a joint investigative visit urgent and necessary. A close look at the scene of this explosion, a layman can easily tell that the surrounding of the pipeline was dug by shovel. Hence, locals are insisting that this must have been a third-party sabotage. In Ogoni land, for News Central, Biola Festus.
Now our correspondent Igbalani Yamani joins us from Rivers State for more update. Well, hello Ni, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Also to note, will be joining us to discuss development in Rivers State is National Publicity Secretary NNPP Ladipo Johnson. But first, Ni, can you please give us an idea of what it is like there in Rivers State, currently?
Yeah, good evening, Mazino. I'll start from the events that started in the wee hours of today. Two individual protesters gathered at the government house very early this morning to express their displeasure about the state of emergency that was declared by the president. After which we got there about 2 hours after. The place was actually serene, calm. We did not see the military presence that was earlier said was present, that came in yesterday, according to the videos that have been circulating online, as that when we got there this morning, there was no military presence at the government house. We were not also able to confirm if Governor Siminalayi Fubara is or was at the government house as at that time, because we're not allowed, we're not given access. And all the people we tried to speak to, even appropriate quarters we reached out to, it didn't give us any information. Now, on our way out from the government's house area, we met some Rivers women who were gathered at one of the major parks, Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt here, on the grass, praying. Christians, Muslims alike, praying and calling for peace, and praying that Governor Siminalayi Fubara be reinstated as the governor and the suspension be lifted. On one hand, some would say the prayer worked because the division at the House of Representatives, for them to agree to the state of emergency declared by the president, is happening. But that didn't stop the swearing in and the oath taking of the sole administrator, who is the Vice Admiral Ibas, who of course has been sworn in and is ready to take on the role of monitoring and taking charge of the affairs of the state. And one will wonder, is the prayer working or it's not working? While a lot of people have also said, rather than sit there and just pray, it's time to take action. It's time to do something. But let's talk about the people we see on the street right now, the residents we've met, the residents we've spoken with, so many that have expressed their displeasure about the current situation. I would say, if I'm to put in terms of percentage, I would say about 60% of residents of Port Harcourt Rivers particularly want peace, and they want the status quo resumed. But some are of the opinion that the president and major stakeholders have not been necessarily dealt with in this matter, noting that some people are ready to perpetrate evil. And if we see across board, we'll see that there's a lot of misinformation going on. Like today, there was a video circulating online about a refinery being set on fire. We tried to get confirmation on that. However, we got confirmation that it was not some sort of fire, it was just gas flaring and some little technical issue at the Port Harcourt Refinery. And other false information also have been going up online, narratives that are trying to spin things out of control and increase tension in Rivers State. But for now, it's quite calm, as you can see behind me. Activities in normal schools were operational today, aside from very few adults we spoke to that didn't let their children go to school, just trying to observe. Government workers, some government workers didn't also go to work today. But activities and normal businesses are running as usual, calm in the land. People are, however, worried because of the presence of military, noting that anytime military is called into a situation, it almost looks like it's a security threat. It almost looks like there's a coup. It almost looks like the people have to live in fear. Is it a war zone? That's the question they are asking. Why should the military be involved in this? But we're still going to see and watch how things unfold, because the sole administrator has not fully taken charge, and we're expecting him in Rivers probably tomorrow, and I'm sure he's going to give a press briefing. Then we'll know what happens from there. Then we'll know what changes will be made. Then we'll know what the modality of how the state of emergency will actually take form in Rivers State. But for now, activities are going on as usual, and things seem normal.
Well, Nee, you are correct when it comes to the military involvement in any civilian situation, especially in this case here. There was plenty of worry regarding the declaration from yesterday, and I'm wondering whether that changed in any way since after the affirmation that there has been a swearing in of the sole administrator. We saw some pictures from before where people gathered and actually were in tears over the declaration. But now that there has been a swearing in, have things or have emotions deepened, or have people settled into or resigned to the reality of things?
Well, as I noted, Mazino, everybody's just listening and watching, and all eyes are actually on the sole administrator right now. The next move he makes will determine what kind of situation or what the atmosphere will be like in Rivers State. But for now, the status quo remains. Everyone is just going about their normal duty, and people are trying to be careful. I must actually state, it's quite difficult to get people to speak, because they feel like, oh, we're in a military regime already, and if I say anything now, it can be used against me, or they will just pick me up from somewhere, and my family won't even know where I am. But I want to believe that by the time the sole administrator begins operation, then we'll start seeing some level of changes, or some modalities coming up, or some attitude, or the ambience in the state might actually change based on instructions, based on if he's going to put out restrictions of movement at some point. But for now, we've seen a lot of residents calling for peace in the land. That's just what they want, and of course the reinstate for their governor to be reinstated back into power, because they've listed out things he has done in the past 2 years that they've not been able to achieve under previous administrations for years, and that alone is what has drawn them, endeared them to their current governor, and they hope peace is restored in the land. So for now, the status quo remains until the sole administrator leases out or reels out instructions or what modalities the state of emergency will take.
Thank you very much, Nee. We'll continue coming to you for more details. Now we are joined by, to discuss with us the Rivers State instance, we're joined by the National Publicity Secretary, NNPP, Mr. Ladipo Johnson. Mr. Ladipo Johnson, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I've been asking everybody that... Good evening. Yes, good evening. I've been asking everybody that's joined us on the news today whether they saw this coming. So did you see this state of emergency coming? And for how long did you see it far off?
In actual fact, you probably would not believe me. I was with the national chairman of the NNPP yesterday morning. We had an appointment somewhere, and we spoke about it. And I said to him, do not be surprised if this happened, only for us to come out and later on hear that it had happened. So, and in our release, we said that this is exactly the thing we hold Nigerians and people from Kano to act against, prepare against, that we knew that was what was going to happen. It is a shame that it is something that was predictable. It was something that we saw coming all along. But it is unfortunate, as I say, that we're where we are at. And we just hope that good sense, common sense, good conscience will prevail. A state of emergency is not something you should use as a political tool. Once you start, then all sorts of things will happen. You do not know where things will end up, but where we are at.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, now I'd like to please deconstruct this situation we find ourselves here in Rivers State now, the political undertones of the situation, perhaps maybe even adding names and actions to the drama that we see playing out.
Well, I think that most people know that there's been strains between the governor and the erstwhile governor, the minister of the Federal Capital Territory. And we saw what happened. It went on. You saw 27 members of the House of Assembly publicly saying that they were moving party, only for the courts to rule that they didn't sign, that they were leaving or something funny, and that has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Now, these are the things we say. I'm not saying the Supreme Court is wrong, but such judgments, such decisions erode the confidence the people of Nigeria have in the judiciary. Again, we're there. Now, you have people saying all sorts. We're not going to allow you to impeach our governor. If you try to do anything, you will see the job people spoke, etc. Fast forward, the Attorney General was pointing out that there were explosions to pipelines and everything. Now, my take on that is, have they investigated those behind the explosion? Because you have two political sides. What makes anyone feel that, oh, it is only the job people who have militants? Who says that there might be no militants who are friendly or who are in support of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory? I can see the rhetoric. It's as if, oh, it was the governor, oh, it was the job people and everything. Yes, who can tell me categorically that they have proof that it is not someone from the other side who may have instigated this and given Mr. President the excuse they needed? That is why we have said that the ingredients that are necessary for the declaration of a state of emergency are not there. It is unconstitutional, especially the issue of suspending or not suspending members of the assembly or of the governor. I don't know where they feel they got the power to advise Mr. President to suspend.
Now, Mr. Johnson, according to due process,
yes,
the President is supposed to make a proclamation to the National Assembly, which has been done, it would seem, and the National Assembly are yet to actually ratify the matter. However, we've seen him go ahead and swear in a sole administrator for Rivers State. What do you say of the President's actions from today?
Well, I think that ab initio, I thought his actions were rash. I don't think they were properly thought out. I don't believe in what he has done. But I always like to be objective. If you have announced, you've gone ahead to announce that you suspended a sitting governor and an elected House of Assembly, then you cannot afford to have a vacuum in governance. You can't afford to have a vacuum in governance. And I hope that the governor himself and the people of Rivers will challenge this unconstitutional act in a court of law of competent jurisdiction and take it to the logical conclusion. Let us know what Section 305 of the Constitution means and how wide it is. Because he has set this precedent. Yes, it's been done before. President Jonathan did it during the Boko Haram problems and what have you.
Okay.
That's a different thing.
Mr. Johnson, I am out of time, but I'm begging the producers to let me ask this one last question regarding the suspension of the governor. Is the president in his constitutional right to do that, to suspend a democratically elected governor? Please, if you can make your answer short, please.
I am not certain. I doubt it. But definitely, I do not think the jurisprudence, that's the philosophy of law, I do not think that the jurisprudence will support it, being that one man from a at the federal level, where you are operating a proper federation, will now go to a state and say he's suspending an elected governor, just as he himself has said that governors have no right to suspend local government chairmen or remove them or appoint caretaker committees, that there must be autonomy. There must be autonomy. So the jurisprudence is not there. I haven't looked at all the law, but I doubt if Mr. President has the right. I would be very surprised, and it would be it would seem crazy if the law, if the courts of the Supreme Court says that, upholds it, that he can suspend it. In fact, the law says he can't. You cannot.
Mr. Johnson, I want to say thank you very much once again for joining us to address this matter. Thank you, sir. Now let's go to break. And when we get back, NNPCL refutes reports of explosions at the Port Harcourt Refinery Company in Rivers State. Details of this and more when we get back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Ltd has refuted reports of an explosion at the Port Harcourt Refinery Company in Rivers State. The company clarified that what occurred was a flare incident which has since been fully contained. It said there is no danger or health hazard to staff or the surrounding communities or even the environment. NNPCL Ltd urged the media and the public to disregard any reports suggesting an explosion at the refinery as they are entirely false. To court matters now. The National Industrial Court in Ikoyi, Lagos has reiterated its order for peace in the ongoing case of the suspended clerk of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Olalekan Onafeko. Justice Maureen Esewe emphasized that the court does not have jurisdiction to reinstate Onafeko as the State House of Assembly's actions are beyond its scope. The court also granted the request of the claimant's counsel, Yusuf Nuruddin, to fast-track the adjudication. Several applications, including one by the acting clerk to reverse Onafeko's actions, remain pending. The court adjourned the case to April 2, 2025 for the hearing of all applications at noon, with parties instructed to serve necessary documents. Justice Binta Yako of the Federal High Court in Abuja has scheduled May 7 to hear a case involving alleged certificate forgery against Odom Anita, a director at the Federal Capital Development Authorities. The case was brought by Njoku Ifeanyi Chukwu, who claims discrepancies in the director's academic credentials. The plaintiff seeks to compel the University of Port Harcourt and the FCDA to provide academic records, including admission details, departmental results, and graduation certificates to resolve the issue. The university's counsel, Jude Ezenwata, was granted permission to file late documents related to the case. The hearing will address the alleged discrepancies and review the defendant's service records. As Nigeria moves closer to the 2027 general elections, the Obedient Movement is ramping up efforts to mobilize support and strengthen its grassroots presence. Now, one of its latest initiatives is the inauguration of the Delta State Transition Committee, alongside a training workshop aimed at enhancing strategic planning and coordination. News Central's Austin Azu has more on this.
Of the Delta State Transition Committee coupled with a training workshop, marks a significant step in the movement's political expansion within Delta State and beyond. Head in Asaba, the Delta State capital, the event drew participation from national movement leaders and representatives from all 25 local government areas of the state.
As we go through this workshop, I inaugurate this committee, this obedient committee. We're also working to make sure that when the time comes, we are going to work towards joining in whatever the branding we're going to do to make sure that Peter Obi and Obedience have a platform for 2027 election.
Also, Chairman. According to the organizers, the committee's launch is aimed at fortifying the movement's grassroots network, harnessing the energy and enthusiasm of supporters to drive political engagements.
This meeting essentially has to do with the key points of building a formidable political workforce where you are teaching, you are helping people to gain the traction of what is required to be done, speaking about the leadership strata.
So we are hoping that galvanizing the obedient movement across the Nigerian states is the key and is the right direction now. We don't want to wait for next year to start our campaigns. We want to start now.
Some participants believe that the training workshop will equip committee members with key skills in mobilization, communication and community engagement, ensuring the movement's objectives remain on track.
This particular workshop is just to re-energize the members of the obedient movement, especially in Delta State, to build a unifying factor where people will know the ideals and the vision and the mission of the obedient movement.
The dimension regarding Labour Party is work in progress, but what's basically happening is that we are reviewing lessons learned and using those lessons to properly structure and prepare for 2027.
My advice is that we mustn't give up at all. A new Nigeria is still possible. But in as much as people say we should pray, in addition to prayer, we must also do the right thing.
As the political landscape evolves, the obedience movement hopes that initiatives like this will bridge the gap between the leadership and grassroots supporters, fostering a stronger sense of ownership and participation. In Delta for News Central, Austin Azu.
And now to the marine sector. Amidst the huge decline in the cargo that calls at the Nigeria ports, the 15% increase in port tariffs implementation has taken effect, as announced by the Nigerian Ports Authority. While the NPA has cited the need to modernize infrastructure and equipment in the ports to justify the increase, stakeholders say this might increase cargo diversion to neighboring countries. News Central's maritime correspondent Neoma Obiaswalo assesses the implications of this hike on the sector.
At a time when Nigerian businesses are struggling with the rising cost of operations, high rate of foreign exchange, and economic uncertainties, stakeholders say imposing additional financial burden in the form of increased port tariff is ill-timed. They say the move is in contrast to ease of doing business, and its ripple effect will lead to higher production costs, increased inflationary pressures, loss of jobs, reduced port competitiveness, and of locally manufactured goods. The question that then begs for answers will be, is this increase in tariff wrong or just ill-timed?
The Nigerian government is relying on the fact that we have the cargoes. We have the volume of the cargoes. Hence, we are not serious about making our ports competitive. There are many criteria or many things that need to be put in place for our ports to be competitive. When neighboring countries are giving incentives to their importers, we keep bringing in various measures, levies, taxes, slamming it on one cargo. And that is why our ports will not be competitive. And it's unfortunate that the federal government has not seen this as a serious issue. I tell it to you that we are losing our project cargo. That is the disheartening part of it to Lumen. Here, we are losing our project cargo on a yearly basis to Lumen, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. It is ill time. It is not a period when you should be talking about increase. It is a period where we should be talking about palliatives to ameliorate the suffering, because a lot of things are happening in the international world and the world market. So how do we now gain this this volume of goods to our port? We have the volume of goods, but unfortunately, we are losing it gradually. We have lost about 20% to Cotonou. We have lost about 15% to Côte d'Ivoire, and we are continually losing it. Deep vessels now cannot even come our waterway. They prefer to take cargo to Côte d'Ivoire. So we are losing it, and it's not interesting. So if you must increase, let us sensitize Nigerians enough, and let us tarry on the issue of increase for another 12 months.
The increase is ill time, the timing is wrong, and the economy cannot accommodate it for now. It behoves on most of these agencies to understand the implication of introducing increase in tariff and also new charges. MPA increment presently is not only going to kill the economy, but it's also going to cripple the inbound shipment and the outbound shipment in Nigeria, and is going to lead to what we call hyperinflation. Already we have so many charges that are coming on every cargo that are inbound and outbound. Unfortunately, immediately MPA increased charges, it will directly affect the shipping company as well as the terminal operators. And when it affects the shipping company and the terminal operators, the cost of doing business will increase. We are looking at MPA encouraging actors to bring in more cargo. The more cargo that MPA is able to attend to through their consolidator, which is ENL, APMT, and the rest of them, the more cargo they are able to attend to will determine the increase in their revenue. Increasing on every cargo that comes in will not profit them. Is an archaic way of making money. If the cargo input drops and you increase charges, the charges will still not satisfy your target because the cargo has dropped. We should be looking at how do we facilitate trade and encourage people and make the port to be business friendly so more cargo can come in so you can make more money.
These figures show the effect of this hike is already telling on the cost of vessels calling at the Nigerian ports. Stakeholders say Nigeria must remain competitive in regional trade to check neighboring countries hijacking Nigerian cargoes, which in the end still returns to the country via smuggling, thereby creating economic losses. Vessels calling at the Nigerian ports leave with empty containers, while agricultural produce get out of Nigeria by road with lesser fees, consequently enriching the neighboring countries which have more efficient and cost-effective ports, leading to increased cargo diversion. In Lagos, for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
Coming up, RSF attacks kill 50 in Sudan's Khartoum in 1 week. We'll tell you more about this after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the ongoing conflict between Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has claimed at least 50 lives in Khartoum over the past week, as fighting for control of the capital intensifies. The Khartoum Emergency Response Room reported widespread violence, including abductions, forced displacements, and sexual violence. The humanitarian crisis has worsened, with malnutrition reaching alarming levels. 7 children have died since March. Additionally, famine has been declared in parts of Darfur and the Nuba Mountains. The RSF, led by Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, continues to hold parts of Khartoum while the army makes advances to reclaim territory. The conflict, which has been ongoing since April 2023, has caused tens of thousands of deaths and displaced over 12 million people. Now, President Vladimir Putin, in a call with U.S. President Donald Trump, agreed to pause attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure but rejected a full ceasefire. Putin conditioned a comprehensive truce on the cessation of foreign military aid to Ukraine, a demand previously rejected by Ukraine's allies. Trump hailed the conversation as productive, noting that both leaders agreed to work toward a complete ceasefire and eventual peace. However, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has criticized Putin for rejecting the broader ceasefire following continued Russian drone attacks. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine accused each other of launching airstrikes. The call marked a shift in U.S. diplomacy, with Trump suggesting ongoing talks toward a longer-term settlement. Now, business. Nigeria and Brazil have signed the commercial phase of the $1.1 billion Green Imperative project, which is expected to transform Nigeria's agriculture sector. The signed agreement intends on boosting food production, promoting sustainable, low-carbon farming, and also integrating small-scale farmers into value chains. This is a follow-up to a 2018 Memorandum of Understanding. Ayola Adetiloye, Executive Secretary, Produce Export Development Alliance, was on our show Business Edge, and he explained the benefits of such partnerships.
$1 billion, initiative, and it's a, the GIP sends to not just only revitalize, food security, but also help us develop our agro-industrial base, right? Where we're seeing features like, local assembly of equipment, of tractors locally, but of course some of the parts might be imported, but it actually assembles that, meaning that more farmers, more food producers can have access to mechanization, and also finance for mechanizations as well. So the launch of the commercial part, really what it just means is that we're going to be seeing some movement on the ground. After all is said and done, this is going to be crucial for trade. Not just only to boost like the agricultural economy, but also to promote trade between both countries, because I know that some of these parts are going to be imported and then assembled in Nigeria. And so we look forward to really the real implementation of this deal on ground. But from all indication, it's a very historical deal. It has taken almost 7 years to actually, put this deal in place, and we're glad that it's finally coming in, because trust me, Nigeria, we cannot afford to go another year with the way that our food security architecture has been moving for years, and we cannot afford it at all. So it's very, very timely.
And now time for sports. As part of preparations for the 2025 Africa Women's Club Championship set to take place in Abuja from April 1st to 14th, the Nigerian Customs Service women's volleyball team have commenced a 10-day training tour of Benin Republic. The tour aims to test the team's readiness, providing an opportunity to compete against strong opponents from Benin Republic, Ghana, and Togo. The team have been in camp since February, and this trip is expected to enhance their match fitness. With a 4th place finish in 2021, the team is determined to improve its performance and make a strong impact at the upcoming tournament. 23 teams from across Africa will contest the tournament alongside Customs. The Nigeria Super Eagles are focused on securing a crucial win against Rwanda on Friday in their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier at Amahoro Stadium, Kigali. Despite never having beaten Rwanda on their home soil, the 3-time African champions insist history will not dictate their fate. All 23 invited players have arrived in camp and will train again on Wednesday. That's on Wednesday evening, including Victor Osimhen, fresh off a hat-trick performance for Galatasaray in Turkey, and reigning Africa Player of the Year, Ademola Lookman. Meanwhile, FIFA has appointed Moroccan referee Jalal Jayed to take charge of the game that will kick off at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. The match also marks coach Eric Chile's debut as Nigeria fights for a spot at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Nigeria's under-17 women's team, the Flamingos, will remain in camp as they prepare for the final round of qualifiers for the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. The team will face Algeria, with the first leg set for Saturday, April 19th at the Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne. The return leg follows a week later in Algeria. Nigeria secured their spot in this round with a convincing 5-1 aggregate win over South Africa, including a 3-1 away victory in Pretoria and a 2-0 home triumph in Ikenne. On their part, Algeria overturned a 1-2 first leg loss to Botswana with a commanding 4-0 win at home. Both teams now battle for a ticket to the 2025 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Morocco later in the year. Now, defending champions Edo Queens secured a crucial 1-0 victory over Ekiti Queens in Ilorin, boosting their chances of qualifying for the NWFL Super 6. New signing Rebecca Adegbemile netted the winner in the 68th minute, extending Edo Queens' unbeaten run to 8 games with 17 points. Edo Queens had previously thrashed Ekiti Queens 3-0 in Benin and have now beaten them 5 times in competitive fixtures. Their next test is against Abia Angels on match day 9. With just a few games left, Edo Queens remain strong contenders for the Super 6 and a continental slot, I beg your pardon. Their position at the top depends on the Nasarawa Amazons versus Remo Stars ladies clash in Lafia late on Wednesday. And that's it this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories that we brought your way. President Tinubu has sworn in sole administrator of River State, Vice Admiral Ibok-Ete Ibas, into office a day after declaring a state of emergency. The federal government is set to release River State allocation to new administrator Ibok-Ete Ibas amid declaration of state of emergency. And we also told you that RSF clashes with army in Sudan has left 50 dead within 1 week. Now, do remember you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screens now, and do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.